Our next guest, who is May Golan, and she's the Israeli Minister for Women. Thank you for joining us, May. Can I ask you what the situation is right now? We have been following for days now the amassing of Israel troops, obviously all around the border of Gaza, with hearing, towards 400,000, a massive force. The Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the moment is near. When are you expecting this invasion to start?
You need to understand that Israel is now under a war, and we are under missiles every second. When we're speaking, I can hear the siren every second and run to the safe room that I have. We are not talking about the exact time that our military will go in. I don't want to expose anything that will endanger Israel, but I do want to tell you that the war hasn't started yet. And if everyone around the world thinks that this is just in the middle of it, or we're towards the end, then he's very big mistaking, because we have seen things that we haven't seen since the Holocaust, and Israel refuses to live under a Nazi attack once again, and refuses to live under Nazi attacks, actually, by slaughtering women and babies and children. And we said never again, and we meant it. I want to tell you that every day we find out more and more horrors, really unbelievable things that the mind even can't comprehend. And as the Minister of Women's Advancement in Israel, I formed a help center for women around Israel. And just yesterday, I received another horror to hear that a husband found his wife when she was pregnant, while the terrorists took out the fetus, took out the baby, put it outside after slaughtering the mother, and shot the baby outside. This is what the husband had to find out. And this is things that the mind can't comprehend. And we keep saying, the world keeps saying that Hamas is ISIS. But I want to tell you something that is very important for me to say to you and to the world. Hamas is worse than ISIS, because when ISIS slaughtered and killed human beings and took off heads, no one like Gigi Hadid and the rest of those celebrities dared to stood up with them. But Hamas pretended to be a peace organization, someone that wants to fight for freedom, and didn't have all these celebrities standing and helping them and making them be normal towards the world. So I want to say to the world right now, Hamas is worse than ISIS. It's not just ISIS. I want to tell you another horror story. As people were waiting yesterday at the graveyard for the funeral, when they think that the body of their beloved one is about to come out, one of the rabbis comes out and say, "I'm sorry, but you have to wait a little bit longer." After a little bit more time, we found out that a hand grenade was put inside of the body in order to make it more evil, more satanic, more crazy. So I want to tell to the world, where the world is talking about when the military is going to get in or not, they need to understand that the Jewish people that has been prosecuted for over 2,000 years is now facing something that no person in his right mind can even realize. And while the world is talking about what's happening in Gaza, I want to remind the world about the Fourth Geneva Convention and the section of 27, because the UN and Hague and all these women organizations that are staying silent right now. By the way, I've never saw so many feminists being silent at the same time. The only time they're so silent is when a Jewish woman or Israeli woman is being raped or murdered. But I guess anti-Semitism is much more hard than feminism in this time. But I want to tell you that by the Geneva Convention, you cannot attack women and children, and this is a very bad violation of the Geneva Convention. And yet you hear nothing from the UN, you hear nothing from Hague, you hear nothing from the women organizations around the world. And all these celebrities that talked about the situation of women in Gaza are not saying anything, absolutely anything, about what women are going through. Women were slaughtered, were raped, were brutally beaten, were kidnapped with their children to Gaza while they're naked. This is things that and while filming live by those groups of terrorists from Hamas. And I want to tell you something. As a woman, And as the Minister of Women's Advancement in Israel, you know, I can't close my eyes for the last week. I cannot. After seeing those horrors, I don't think that my soul and my mind will ever be the same. And I call upon the world that sees those horrors and stay silent. A lot are with us. I know that. A lot stand with Israel. But those celebrities, like I saw Oprah Winfrey for matters, that saying Jennifer Aniston, all these celebrities that stay silent and always talk about women's rights. Where are you when women's rights are being brutally attacked in a democracy? This is not just a fight for Israel. This is fight for the rest of the Jewish nation around the world.
Let me ask you a question, May.
For democracies around the world.
May, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, May.
Yes.
You are clearly furious and you're grieving, and I think all Israelis are in the same mood as you. Benjamin Netanyahu is vowing to destroy Hamas. And frankly, we all hope that he succeeds in that endeavour. Now, the international community, meanwhile, because of innocent Palestinian citizens, are urging restraint on the part of Israel. My feeling is it's very important that Israel avenges what happened to its people last weekend, the grotesque atrocities. It's very important that Israel avenges it and is seen to avenge, to exact revenge. But when the international community says, well, show restraint, will the IDF show restraint when they go into Gaza?
I want to start by saying that the Israeli army is the most moral army in the world. I repeat, the Israeli army is the most moral army in the world. And while those civilians of Gaza that you're talking about were a part of slaughtering men, women, and children inside of the territory of Israel, while they are part of it, the moral army of Israel is putting in the south of Gaza a safe zone for those civilians. But I want to make something, and I want to make it clear. When those 2 million Palestinians chose Hamas, okay, 30,000 Hamas people, this is the entire population of Hamas in Gaza. Those 2 million Palestinians chose them, just like in any Arabic dictatorship / democracy, the way they refer to it, did. We have to treat them the same. When Americans attacked the Nazis, they didn't take any consideration into the civilians. When the Allies attacked the Nazis, they didn't take any consideration to the civilians, to the gas, to the fuel, to the water. They didn't. And yet still, the army of Israel put a safe zone in the south of Gaza. And I want to tell you, we have alerted the civilians of Gaza to leave the north of Gaza, and yet the Hamas people won't let them leave, won't let them out. They are the ones who are using the people of Gaza and their children and the women as a shield for their terror. They are the ones who's doing it. And I want to tell you another thing. We are talking a lot, you know, on the media all day, all night. The media is sitting here. She's interviewing people that were, their families were slaughtered and kidnapped and killed. People that were part of peace organizations that were driving Gaza people to the hospitals in Israel. And they were the ones who live in there. And Hamas knows this. Hamas has no difference between lefties and righties in Israel. They have no difference between people who want peace and don't want peace. They want to kill Jews, period. And once again, you know, we don't owe any kind of consideration to people that didn't have any consideration to us. And if we're talking, you know, the world is talking about proportional response. If we're talking about that, then you know what? I wrote it right down here. Remember Gilad Shalit, the kidnapped soldiers? We released 1,027 prisoners for him. 1,027 prisoners for him. So on a normal mathematics, you know, if we want to avenge, like you said, and this is, by the way, not about avenge. This is about destroying Hamas and all terrorists.
I think you've got every right to avenge what happened.
We need more than 1 million dead people in Gaza, and this is not the goal. And just another
What is the goal then, May? What is the goal of Israel? I mean, obviously in the short term, I think you do have to avenge what happened.
Yes.
We really hope that you succeed in finding all of Hamas and you destroy them. Then what? What is the plan for the Gaza Strip? What is Israel's plan for it after it has hopefully destroyed Hamas?
you know, the Palestinians could have enjoyed a very rich, generous neighbor next to them. We saw this with the peace agreement with Egypt, with Lebanon, with the Abraham Accords. We saw tourists coming from there to Israel, tourists from Israel coming there, but there's no partner to make peace with. So right now, it's about destroying all Hamas people, all terrorism, all their facilities, all their weapons, everything that has to do with terror. Israel will not accept living next to terrorism anymore. Again, I repeat, this is a very important word for me. Israel is not just fighting on behalf of itself, it's fighting on behalf of the free world, on behalf of every democratic country in the world. And killing Hamas is it's not just Hamas here. It's killing the hope that Iran has to destroy Israel, the people in Lebanon, the people in Syria, all the terror groups that are staying there, not the people, I'm sorry, the terror groups that are sitting there and wanting to destroy Israel and just waiting to buy their time. Hezbollah is on the north, waiting to see if we will destroy these group organizations. And I want to clarify something. This has never been about making the situation of the people in Gaza worse, ever. We saw that if it wasn't for the money and the electricity and the water and all the assistance that Israel has given the people of Gaza, Hamas wouldn't have cared for anything for the people of Gaza.
May, can I ask you a question about back here in Britain? Over the weekend, we saw a lot of demonstrations. Nearly all of them were pro-Palestine, to the extent that our Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, is now proposing that we make flying the Palestinian flag, draping yourself in the Palestinian flag, illegal, because among those demonstrators were people who were openly supporting Hamas. So it wasn't just pro-Palestine, it was pro-Hamas. What do you think about that sort of thing happening back here in Britain? Why does it happen? You people, the Israelis, are the victims here. You were invaded, and the response back in Britain seems to be, rah, 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 go Palestine. What do you make of that?
It hurts me to the core. It's a real shame, you know, because we're not just talking about, you know, Israel and Palestinians, occupation, not occupation. We are talking about killing women, men, and children, raping them, slaughtering them, taking off their heads, doing things that I don't even want to say, so your viewers won't feel so sick in their stomachs. And yet this specify the fact that Israel is under attack at all times, and you see it in the biggest universities around the world, where pro-Palestinians rally happens again and again and again, which means, and this is really the most crucial thing about this, which means that Israel is not really safe until the rest of the world, the rest of the free world, will stand up and say never again. This is a shameful thing that people are putting the flag of Hamas. Hamas is ISIS. Hamas is terror. Whoever puts Hamas flag and wrapped himself around it is a pro-murder. And make no mistakes, if they dare to do it here on the border of Israel, those people that rally up and say and rally up pro-Palestine, they will murder in your country. They will do the same thing when they can, because they have terror groups around the world sitting and waiting for the day of order. And this is the dangerous thing. This is not just against Israel and Jewish people. This is against everything that is liberal, that is democratic. You know what? As the Minister of Women's Advancement, I know the situation of Arab women, not just in Israel and in Gaza, but around the world. This is a dark, dark culture and dictatorship that doesn't believe in the rights of women, doesn't believe in the rights of the liberal world. I heard your conversation before I started about a different topic, but I don't want to go make it wider and talk about it. But I want to say that the topic that you talked about, if you take it to those Hamas people and this culture, they will never allow it to happen. So I want to make clear, any protest that is pro-Hamas is pro-terror. Any protest that is pro-Hamas is pro-terror and should be forbidden in a democratic country. And it's shameful to know. I've been in the UK many times, and I love the people there, and I know that what they think. And I cannot believe that any democratic British person will be pro this act if it's not a part of a terror group. And you should forbidden it, and you should stand up and say no Hamas flag, because Hamas is ISIS, Hamas is terror, Hamas is pro-raping.
It is illegal. illegal already
Jewish
here, May. It's illegal to support Hamas or to display any of their insignia. We are now proposing to maybe extend that to flying the Palestinian flag, because underneath the Palestinian flag, so many Hamas supporters seem to gather. In terms of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, I mean, do you accept or do you believe that Hamas are theological tyrants who have terrified these people? There are a lot of Palestinians who are too scared to speak up, but they don't support Hamas. I mean, the people of Gaza aren't necessarily massive Hamas fans. They are just ruled with a kind of vicious rod of iron by these people. If we get rid of Hamas, perhaps the Palestinians would be less aggressive towards you.
I can only hope so. I can only hope so. But I want to tell you, in the end of the day, I always believed that Hamas took 2 million people as hostages. But I now know different. I now know different, because seeing the sights of so many Palestinian civilians in Gaza after this attack, standing on the roofs, dancing, singing, making music, being so happy, glorifying the shaheeds, glorifying the terrorism, giving candies outside. You need to understand, when a Jewish mother loses her son, she will suffer towards the end of her days, and not just her, her family, and the entire population of Israel with her. And this is the difference between right and wrong. This is the difference between evil and good. This is the difference between us who want peace and the Hamas people, women, children, and men going out, giving out candies, even under the attacks. So you have to ask yourself, in the end of the day, is this truly what the civilians of Gaza want? They want their people to kill women, men, and children. They want them to rape them. They want them to slaughter them. They glorify it. You need to understand the education from day one in the Gaza Strip. They educate people towards hating Jews, killing them. They tell them that in order to be in heaven, in order to accept 72 virgins, they have to kill Jewish people. This is the most sacred place in their mind that they can achieve. And this is, you take a child, an innocent child that is born to the Gaza Strip, and you educate him like that. And what do you expect? What do you expect? So I know that obviously not 100% of the civilians of Gaza wants this, but in the end of the day, they can stand up, they can puke out of their society, Hamas. Again, Hamas is only 30,000 people compared to 2 million Gazan people. It's illogical that they can accept this dictatorship and say nothing.
May, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much, and I wish you all the best. That's May Golan. She's Israel's Minister for the Advancement of Women in Tel Aviv there.